Hello, everyone. Today's topic for this discussion is the inordinate amount of delay between a job interview and a candidate receiving a job offer. One of the most frustrating aspects of in looking for a new job is the process that one goes through in terms of the interview. And after the interview, you get into that black hole where you just don't know what's happening in the background and you're waiting for the offer, an offer letter before you accept it and decide to move forward. And that delay can be really frustrating if you are a candidate looking for a job. And I can tell you, as a hiring manager, the process is equally frustrating for the hiring manager himself or herself, because you look for candidates, you're ready to make an offer to the candidate, but you have a whole gamut of processes in the organization that you have got to work through before an offer is released to a candidate. So let's peer behind the scenes. Why do companies delay an offer letter? There can be delay of several weeks or even months before a successful interview and an offer letter. Let's look at the process. This is an overly simplified view of the offer process. You have a job posting, a position that's opened up, and then the hiring manager starts working with the recruiter. Recruiter in turn posts it online on job forums, portals, or wherever, and starts filtering the candidates. The candidates are then brought in for interviews. You could have one or multiple rounds of interviews with one or a panel of interviews. Now, once the interview process starts, remember that you are not the only candidate being interviewed here, right? The hiring manager is looking at other candidates also. There are a lot of other candidates being looked at, just like you are looking at multiple jobs at the same time. And that process is happening in the background while you are being called for the interview. You go through your interview. So it could be a few days where the hiring managers have scheduled multiple interviews that are happening in the background. After that, a panel of interviewers, if there are multiple panels on multiple rounds of interviews, the data from all that is gathered. And the interview panel then makes a recommendation to the HR to proceed with selected candidates. And that panel and that recommendation itself can take a day, few days, or even weeks. All that is happening in the background. And after that happens, the HR starts the negotiation process with you. Now, this negotiation can again go back and forth depending on your demands, on your requirements. If you are a hot candidate in a hot area, right, you may be weighing multiple offers. So you then go back to the HR manager and say, now, can you up the offer? The HR manager comes back with a counter offer. Or likewise, you make a counter offer. That process goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, when it's finally negotiated, that package, that offer package, then goes to a senior executive in the organization for approval. And then a decision to make an offer is made. Now, all this can be taking several days, several weeks, or even months in the background, right? Now, it can be pretty frustrating if you are a candidate. And mind you, it can be frustrating for the hiring manager also, who has gone through this process, has identified the candidate, and then recommended the candidate to the HR. Keep in mind, there's another process that's also happening in the background, which is the BGV, background verification, that we talked about in an earlier video. Now, to me, I say this tongue in cheek, but this process is almost similar to an Indian arranged marriage. What happens in the arranged marriage is almost similar to making an offer to a candidate, right? You have the parents or the prospective bride or the groom going to a matrimonial website or a dating website or placing an advert in a matrimonial column. Now, and then you get a lot of responses from prospective brides or prospective grooms. You then start the process of filtering through them before you start dating. You have a few phone calls, you start dating. And then comes the process of meet the family. Now, this is one of the most crucial aspects of it because you are marrying into a family, not just marrying a person. It's like you're joining an organization, not just joining a manager or a team. Now, when the dating is continuing, keep in mind the other person may also be dating other candidates while the negotiation is happening in the background or the filtering is happening in the background. The families and friends start having their opinion and make recommendations. All this while the dating continues. And then comes kind of a verbal confirmation saying, yeah, I like you. Let's see where this goes. And then in the meantime, there's a background verification happening. May not be as formal as a BGV for a company, but in some cases, it may be happening in that sense. An uncle or aunt or a cousin might take it upon themselves to verify your credentials before you're filtered into the process. In some cases, you could have a prenup. And finally comes the engagement proposal and a ring. The process could take a day, a few days, or even months, in some cases, or even years. Almost similar to what we looked at earlier, right? For a job offer. Now, can we shorten the process? Of course, there are ways to do it. If there's a critical demand, you short circuit everything and just move forward and find a candidate, get the candidate onboarded, take a risk, right? Same with marriage. If you're desperate to get married, you would take a risk, have a leap of faith. But in most cases, the process is lengthy and time consuming. And that's just a fact of life. Thank you.